Uh, Hello, good evening, friends. Good evening, very good evening. We will get started now. Okay. We will get started. Great. Okay. So we'll talk about Json file. Okay. What is Json file? Okay. Now, if you open Wikipedia, it'll tell you what JSON is. So JSON stands for, okay, so today we'll talk about JSON files, how to work with them. Okay. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. Okay. JavaScript Object Notation. Okay. It's a standard file format. We can use this to move data from one location to another. It was first designed in early 2001, and since then it has, it has become one of the most popular file format, okay, for moving data. Okay. Okay. So let's say, okay, let's look at how JSON files are created. Okay, I'll give you one example. Okay, so this is how JSON file is created. Okay, so it always starts with this curly bracket. Okay, and information you put is within the curly bracket. Okay, so always you have this curly bracket. So in curly bracket, you have key colon value pair. Your key is nothing but the column. Okay, so let's say if I want to get information about cricket players, right? So I'll say name. Okay, name, and then I'll say Sachin. Okay, so this is given in a curly bracket. Okay, you have name, which is the key here, or the column name. Okay, so we want to say the column name is name, and inside that column we have a value Sachin. We have second column, okay, game, and we say cricket. This is your second column. Okay, we have to give comma here. That's what the mistake is. Okay, Sachin. Okay, so next column is game, and the value that we have here is cricket. Now you can have third column here, right? So let's say third column is about multiple values. Okay, so here let's say you have multiple values. Okay, so interest, let's say I put interest. Okay, now interest, if it has multiple values, you give it like a list format of our Python. Okay, Json file works very well with our Python, because you can understand the way it is being designed, right? It is being designed like a Python data structure, right? You have name, so it's whole thing is a dictionary. Name is your key. This is value. Then again, game is your key. This is value, interest, and you have multiple values. Multiple values you can give in lists. I'll say playing music. Okay, playing music. Okay, driving cars. Okay, sleeping. So you can give multiple values here. Okay, so generally multiple values you can represent it in different lines. Okay. 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 So something like this. Now you can even have a dictionary inside a dictionary. So we call them composite attributes, right? Where you have a column, okay, which has multiple sub columns. Column which has multiple sub columns. For example, address. Okay. So if I talk about address, okay, quotation, address, okay, will have its own multiple values, isn't it? So you can have something like this here. Address will have, say, your street location, street address, street we call it. Okay, we'll say 121 ABC Road, right? You can have locality, sub columns, right? Locality, say something like this. Okay, so you can have something like this, isn't it? You can have pin code. That means you have sub columns, right? I'm thinking, can we add anything more? Of course, we can add, let's say, a phone number, for example. Okay, so I say comma and I put phone number. Okay, now phone, you can have landline, mobile, okay, mobile 2, multiple phones, right? So you have multiple values. Okay, so you have, so I'm going to use as a square bracket, as a list. And here again, in list, you have sub columns, right? So let's say type. Okay, I say type. Type is your personal mobile, something like this. Personal mobile. Okay, then you have number here. Oops. Okay, now see here in list you cannot give double values, right? So same thing happens in JSON also. Okay, I have to use as a dictionary only. Okay, sub columns, right? So the list has sub columns here. Okay, so I'm going to say here type personal mobile, and now I'm going to give number. Okay, so you can give number as number, or you can give as a mobile number, you can give even as a string, right? But you can give as a number as well. 1 2 3 4 5 6, right? Now this is, so phone has multiple values, each value has columns and sub columns, right? So now inside this again, if you go say comma here, okay, we put this, and then we can put again this sub values here. We can say land line, right? Landline, we'll just say 3. Okay, so you can have a structure like this. Now this is a structure of a sample JSON data. Okay, example of a sample JSON data. Now how do we read this? Okay, how do we read this using our Python? That's the key. That's what we wanted to do. So before we get into Python programming, just have a look, okay, of how JSON is created these days. Okay, JSON is mostly used. Okay, so so just see how it is used. Now in our program today, we'll see to parse JSON to see if JSON file is working or not, right? That's the first thing. And if it is working, okay, then how to read, how to extract values from it. That's what we're going to do. Okay. So in in JSON, we have 4 types of functions that we will see. Just 4 types of functions. Yesterday for text file, we saw read, read line, read lines. Read will read entire content, or if you want to read specific number of characters, you can say read of that number of characters. Read line will read only one line. You can even mention specified number of characters. So at max, it will read one line only, or if the number of characters is less than the characters in the line, it will read that many number of lines, isn't it? Then again, if you want to read all the lines, we have something called as read lines, right? So we use read lines to read entire um, uh, number of lines, correct? Okay, then we spoke about write. So write, we did write and write lines. Okay, now here, okay, you have 4 types of functions that we're going to talk about, okay, which are your load, and you have load S, LOADS, load S, dump, and dump S. Okay, so these are the 4 functions which are there, and we'll see how to use it. Okay, now before we go ahead, okay, I just want to give you a link to a mobile app. Okay, it's called Story Mantra mobile app, and I've already posted the link in the chat where you can download. Okay, it's available only on Android. Okay, okay, it's only available on Android. Okay, the thing is, if you download here, okay, download this app for unlimited access to the study material. Okay. So here you'll have my books, my Python book is there, and data science books are there, videos are there. Okay. Everything is totally free. So download this Story Mantra app and you log in using your Gmail or Facebook. You have to create an account. Okay. So you log in. Once you log in, okay, then you will find categories. Okay. So after you log in, you will see categories. Okay. There are many categories. There are story books. Okay. And many other things. But you look for a technical category. Okay. Technical. In technical, you can see Python books. Okay. Okay. Machine learning books. You can even see SQL books. Okay. So you can download this app. Okay. Add these books to your own study plan library. Okay. And then you can access the complete book, and you just have to okay, just go page by page and practice. Okay. So download this app, log in, add book to your library. Everything is free. Okay. There's no charge at all. Okay. Once you add, then when you go to the dashboard, okay, in your dashboard, you can actually access all the books. And when you access the book, okay, you can go through page by page. Go through page by page and practice. Okay. So in phone you can open the page and you look in the book and you practice on your laptop. There are a lot more examples than what we did in the class. Okay. It's a book. Okay. It's a proper book, and these books are available on Amazon as well. Okay. So you can download and you can start using them. Make sense? Okay. So I told you because you can of course practice more than what I'm doing in the class. Okay, so it has more notes, and if you practice the book, you go page by page, topic by topic. Within 15-20 days, you will master Python. Okay, the way I have written the book. Okay, the way I have written the book. Okay, it is like easy to refer. Okay, notes are there, and all the things are using examples. Okay, I've explained everything using examples. So you'll find it very easy to understand. Okay, just follow that for 15-20 days and you will kind of master those topics. Okay, so we'll continue from where we left. Okay, so I was talking about Json reading. We have 4 functions, and we'll see one by one these functions. It is easy to read using Python because you must have guessed by now, right? The template is like our dictionary template. Okay, even the multi values that list template, right? So it has become much easy. Okay, it is designed for Python, right? So Python can easily read these templates. Okay, now let's go ahead and see this. Now, to work with Python, okay, let me run this. Okay, now to work with JSON, okay, using Python, you have to import JSON module, right? You have to import JSON module, and so let's say, okay, you have this entire thing, right? Now let me read it like a text in Python. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to say data equal to, okay, triple quotation, because I have used double inside. So I will use triple quotation to read it like a text. So we have read it like a text. Okay. Now I'm going to say data dictionary, something like this, variable JSON dot load. Now, so I told you we have load and dump. Load s. See, when you want to display something, you want to read it from something. When you want to read, okay, just like we did read yesterday, right? When you are doing read, we use load, and dump is to write. Okay, so if you are reading something, we use dump. Sorry, load. And if you are reading from screen, okay, it is there in a variable. Okay, this is how I remember. Should I use load or load as? Okay, see, first thing is to know whether I have to use load or dump. So I have to read this value from a variable. So it is reading a value, right? So I'll be using load. But now should I use load or load as? Okay, so if you are reading from a variable which is there on the screen, we use load s, loads. S stands for screen. This is how I remember. Okay, S stands for screen. If you are reading from a file, okay, you can, of course, the next thing is that the data will be in a file, and most of the time you'll be reading from the file only. So if it is in JSON file, then you need to, okay, read it using load, okay, not loads. Okay, loads is only on the variable on the which is there on the screen. Okay, if it is a file what you don't see, we use load only. Okay, so we'll be using load. Okay, so with that, let's continue developing our example. So I'm going to use here load s, loads, right? Loads with s here. And then you mentioned the variable in which the data is there. It is there in data, right? Okay. So load, right? Now you can print it on the screen. So print data. Okay. So if there was an error, okay, let's say I miss comma here. See, you get an error. This is how you can verify if the data that you have created or the JSON object that you have created is fine or not. Now see, for this variable data, it is not a problem, right? Because it's a string, and in string you can do anything. Okay, but when we say loads, it does the parsing. Okay, it does the parsing, and it means that your parsing is not complete. There's something wrong in the parsing. The data is not in JSON format. That's why we got error. See, JSON encoding error. Sorry, JSON decoding error. This is where we're decoding. So we read the JSON value. Now we are saving it like a saving it like a data here in Python. So okay, so it does the parsing. Load s will do the parsing as well, and only if your template JSON template is correct, it is going to read. Okay, now I have read it. You have read it. Now, if you want to print a certain value, okay, so print data dictionary will give us all the values, but I just want one of these. Okay, so let's say data dictionary of, and here I give interests. Okay, interests. So see, it gave us only interest value, very much like our dictionary, right? It's like when you give the key, it'll give us the value, right? So we have read a JSON object using our program, right? So okay, so this is one level. Now let's say I put same thing in a file. Okay, so I'll put same JSON in a file and see what happens. I already have a JSON file created. I'm going to delete this data and add this. Okay, so let's say I have added this in the JSON called JSON demo.json. Okay, so load s is to read variable, right? Now I'm loading the data, I'm reading the data from a file. Okay, so reading the data from a file, we need to use load, isn't it? We need to use load, correct? So, okay, let's see how do we use load. So first thing, okay, we have to open the file. Okay, and let's say I call it as file handle, because see, for, without opening, we can't read it, isn't it? So whether you are reading as a text file or JSON file or CSV file or zip file also will do. Okay, we need to use it. We have to first open it, right? Using open, of course. Okay, so I'm saying file handle equal to, okay, open and the location of the file. So luckily this is in the same location. So I'll just say JSON demo dot JSON, right? And now I say comma. You want to do as a read or write or append. Okay. So one more thing you have to remember is when you are reading, right? Read mode, you don't have to mention the mode. When you don't mention the mode, then by default it becomes your read mode only. Okay. So you can you can open in the read mode only if you don't mention it. Okay. So it's up to us. How do you want to do it? So if you are reading it, you can or you may not give R. Mode is, if you don't give mode, then the default mode is read. Okay. So let's say I give R here. So file is open, file handle has the access. Now I need to read the data, right? So I'm going to say data dictionary 2, okay, equal to JSON.load, and you pass the file handle here, file object, file handle, whatever you call it. So you read it, and then you can print it. Print data dictionary 2. Okay. Of course, same name. Okay. Now let me change the name so that you get a different meanings. I'm going to say Virat here. Okay. Everything else same. Now when I run, okay, so it has read Virat, right? Now let me try to make a mistake here. Okay, I delete this comma. Now when you try to read it, see, same decode error, isn't it? So I go back and see the error and fix it. So that means when your program is able to read, that means you have done a great job. Okay, there is no error in it. And of course, if you want to print something, you can print saying print data dictionary 2 bracket address, let's say. So you got the address. So this is how you use load. Load is to read. Okay, whether you are reading from a file, so you have to say load. If you are reading from a variable, okay, you have to say load as loads. Okay, so loads, load. Now you want to display on the screen, or you want to display in a file, we have to use dump. Okay, so this is reading. Now how do we see writing? Okay, see, it has read. Okay, it has read and it shows us how it has read. Okay, we have not displayed it like a JSON. The way we have written, we have not displayed it like a JSON because we have not used dump. Okay, we have to use dump to display it on the screen. Okay, so coming back to this example, and now I'm going to say writing JSON object to screen and file. So file, you have to say dump, right? And when you say screen, on the computer screen, you say dumps, dump, right? Okay, so let's say we have read this, we have this data dictionary 2. Now we want to display on the screen. So I'm going to say here, data output, okay, equal to JSON dot dumps. On the screen, dumps. So if you do on the screen, we have to pass the data dictionary, right? So whether you take 1 or 2. So data output, now you say print data output. Okay. it is going to print it on the screen. But it is printing same like it was printing here, right? Like load. We can change the way you want it to be displayed. So I'll say here indent. Okay, indent equal to 4. Indent means indentation. Okay, so okay, see here, if you go, we have given indentation, right? Okay, so we want to display with indentation. Now when you go and see this, there's a indent. Okay, did I give the spelling wrong here? Okay. Okay. I'm saying, okay, see the dumps here. Okay, Json dot dumps. Okay, so it's not be in the print here. That's the mistake I made. I always do something or the other silly mistake, right? Okay, we are saying here when you're dumping, that time only we have to say indent, not in the print. Of course, print will not take indent, isn't it? So now you see, you have got the same format, same. This is how a JSON object looks like, and with indent, whatever, right? You can give 3 or 4 or 2, right? Preferably 4 spaces we give. Okay, so you get this. Okay, fine. So this is how you do dump. Now let's write to a file. Okay, we have to write to a file. That is dump, isn't it? Okay, dumps is fine, but how do we do dump? We have to write to a file, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to open a file. Okay, now see, we have opened, but we did not close, right? So let's close it. Let's be a good programmer. File handle dot close. Okay, so I'm going to read another file. Okay, here I'm going to say file handle 2 equal to open. Okay, now when you open in write mode, even if file is not there, it will create the file. Okay, unlike read mode file is not there, you can't read, right? So it will give you error. So I'm going to say here file handle 2 equal to open. I'll say Json file and 9 September. Okay, dot JSON. This is the file, and I will open this in the write mode. I want to write the content to it. So file handle 2 is done. Okay, now I'm going to say JSON dot dump, not dump as dump because I'm writing to a file. JSON handle dump, and the variable, the data which is there. So which is it? Data dictionary 2, isn't it? So data dictionary 2, and then you can mention the okay, the file handle, right? So dump, so dump first takes the data, and then okay, which file or you want to save, right? So file handle has all the information about the file, isn't it? Okay, now we can close the file, right? File handle to dot close. Okay, so if you see here, J, we have only one J file, JSON demo, right? We don't have JSON 9.7. Now when you run it, okay, JSON 9 is created, and you see it has added everything in one line. Now if I go back to our program, okay, and if you want to give indent, you say here indent equal to 4. Now you write. Now you go and see JSON 9. See, it has written in the format that we want to. Right? So this is how you can even format the output. Okay. Okay. So there's one more key here which you can use along with indent, that is called as sort keys. Sort keys. Okay. Sort keys, if I say true, then the keys, okay, will be rearranged in the increasing order. Okay, will be rearranged in the increasing order. So if I run it again, so now you see here, see A, address came first. We had name, isn't it? But since address has A, it has come first. Address, game, interest, right? Name has come after G and I, N, right? So that's how you can rearrange the keys using sort. So pretty much that's it in JSON. JSON is one of the most popular file format that we use these days. So it is always better, that you learn about JSON. Okay, do learn about JSON. Okay, so what we have seen so far, we have seen how to read a JSON file. Okay, and we have read it from screen from a variable, which was a text, right? When we created the first thing on the screen here, so this is a text basically, where, right? So we have read a string variable and converted into JSON using JSON dot loads. Loads, we can convert a text data into a JSON, right? Text data into a JSON using loads. Then to dump on the screen, to display on the screen, we say dumps. Okay, dumps will take two parameters, optional. One is, main is of course the content, the data, right? The JSON format data. Along with that, you can give indent. Indent will rearrange the output, and you have sort keys. Okay, by default, sort keys is false. The way the way you give the value, same way it is going to take in. But when you are you want to sort, you want variables with A to come first, right? So you can say sort equal to keys. So that was loads and dumps. If you want to read from a file, you say load, and then you give the file handle. Okay, before that you have to open the file, create that file handle, and then pass the file handle to the load. And when you are dumping it, when you are writing it, you say dump, and first we pass the content, JSON object content, comma file handle. Two things are must. Apart from that, again you can give indent and your sort keys, right? So this is how we handle and we operate JSON file. Okay, so yes, that is it. We do have some time, so why not talk about one more file format called CSV. Okay, we'll talk about one more file format called CSV. CSV data is generally data will be stored as comma separated files. That's what CSV stands for, comma separated file. But it need not be just comma separated. You can use any special character to separate your file. Okay, it can be semicolon, it can be pipe. Okay, but we call it as comma separated. So let me create one CSV file. So I've opened a notepad. I'm going to share my screen to show you the notepad. Okay, so I have this screen. Okay, and I'm going to create my comma separated values here. So I'm going to say name. Okay, I'll use pipe. Okay, I will not use comma. Okay, and we'll see how to read this in the CSV module. Name, let's say game. Okay, address. Okay, phone, email. Okay, simple. And now in the next line, I'm going to say Sachin Tendulkar. Pipe, game is cricket. Pipe, address. Okay, address. So see, address will have comma. That's the only reason why I did not use comma as a separator. Okay, because then address will be read as multiple values. Okay, so I'm going to say comma, and we had same thing, right? 1, 2, 3, road ABC, comma, Andhra, comma, Mumbai. Okay, so since I'll be using pipe as a separator, this entire thing will be read as one value. Okay, so you got address, we got phone, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's phone, and s@s.com. Okay, now I'm going to copy this, paste it 5 times. I'll just change the name here. Okay, so I'll say Virat, I'll say ABC, Band. Okay, I'll say Rohit. Say here. Let's okay. So I'm going to save these files, save this file, not this file, save this file. I'm going to say save as, and let's put it in the D drive. Let's put it in the D drive. Okay. Okay, so I'm in D drive. I'm going to save it like all files, and I'll say CSV data. D drive CSV data.csv. Okay, it'll appear as a Excel. Okay, it works best in Excel because you don't have permission, so we'll save it in a folder. Okay, so let's see if we have a, I think there's something called as file. Okay, we'll go to data set better. Okay, so in data set, D data set, I'm saving CSV data.csv. Okay, okay, so this data is done. Okay, now I'm going to share my programming, the PyCharm screen. Okay, so all the JSON stuff, let me move away from here. We have done this, so I'm going to say working with JSON. Okay. Now I'm going to say working with CSV. Okay. So in CSV, okay. Okay. So we'll go to, I'm going to close JSON file. We don't need them anymore. Coming back here. Okay. So to work with CSV, we need to import CSV. Okay. Just like we had to import JSON, we have to import CSV. This will provide all the functions that we need to work with CSV file. Okay. So, okay, import CSV. Now I'm going to open this file because I want to read the content from that, right? So I'm going to say file handle equal to open, and this time it's not relative path. We have to give the absolute path. Relative path is, you can give relative path when it is in the same folder location where your Python file is. Now my Python file is in different location. My CSV file is in different location. My CSV file is in D colon dataset / CSV data.csv. CSV, right? And let's open in read mode. So, okay, for read mode, we don't have to give the file mode. Okay. So now this is read. We have to close it. So I'm going to say file handle dot close. Okay. And all our logic will be between open and close. Okay. So to read it, okay. So we need to first, okay, see, file is open, but to read it, we have to read it like a CSV data, right? So I'm going to say CSV object. To create CSV object, which will be which will have access to the content. So I'm just going to say CSV object equal to CSV dot reader. Okay, we have a CSV dot reader, and here you say which file you want to read. So file handle, comma. Okay, what is the delimiter? See, we have used pipe. Okay, so we have to mention that we have used pipe as a delimiter. D E L I M I T E R. Okay, it's not coming. Okay, yes, and then you can give pipe here, because we use pipe to separate the different column values, right? So that's why we are using pipe here for this thing. Now to read it, okay, you have okay, so this will be read as an object, CSV object. Okay, so to get each row from here, you have to use for loop. So you have to say for CSV object, in no for row. Okay, this is row in some variable. Okay, so which we will read each row from the CSV. So I'm going to for row in CSV object. Okay, that's it, and you print row here. So each row will be displayed. We had 5 rows, isn't it? So we should see 5 or plus 1 header. So see, each value is read as a list. Okay, so row will give access to each row of the CSV. Okay, and each row is being read as a list here. So of course, you know how to work with the list. So you know you can handle each of these data. Now, okay, let's say if I have to do what? If I have to okay, display all the names, let's say. Okay, if I have to display all the names. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this. You can see the first row, okay, the first list that you have is header, and next everything is value, right? So you know, of course it depends upon your logic what you want to do. I want to read all the names, so I'm going to say here, okay, I'm doing a count here, row count equal to 0. Okay, and I'll say if row count equal to 0, then header or heading or whatever you call it equal to row. Okay, so I'm going to read header as a separate list. Okay, you can create a list here. So I'm going to read header as a separate list. Now, row count is of course not 0 now, right? Row count equal to 1. That means, okay, 1 plus 1 more than 1. I don't care, but it's definitely not first. Now, else is, let's say I want to print here. So I'll go to else and I'm going to say header of 0. Okay, 0. So this is name, right? If you want to print name. So I'm going to say print header of 0 colon, okay, row of 0. Right? So if you run it now, let me put some text in between. So something like this. So it should say name colon Sachin Tendulkar, name colon Virat, name colon, right? You can so it's all about handling the list. That's all, right? The purpose of CSV is just here to read it. Once you read it, it's just a list, and you can handle the way you want to handle. Okay, you want to display address, you can display, you know, phone number. You can play around with this list. Okay, so this is how we read a CSV file. Now, how do you write CSV file? Okay, so see, to write again, you have to create a CSV file, isn't it, to write? And the data has to be in list format, isn't it? So let's say I create I need to create list, right? Let's say I'll create a list here, or I'll say it header list, and I'll say list one, or you can create a list inside a list, and you can use for loop to iterate for this. Up to you. Okay, as you told, right? This is working with list, nothing to do with CSV. Okay, we just learn how to use CSV. So in the list one, let's say we give employee. Okay, we'll say department. Okay, let's say we give email ID. Okay, now employee one is Sachin. Okay, so here I'll say, okay, department, you say sales, and email ID, you say at c.com, right? Here I'll say comma, the marketing, comma, s at c.com. Okay, so I have got these values. I want to put them in a file. So first thing, I have to create file handle, isn't it? So I'll say file handle 2 equal to open, and let me put it in the same folder. So I'm going to say d:/, data set, and I'm going to say September 9 csv.csv. Okay, and this time, since I'm going to write to it, I have to open it in write mode, isn't it? Write or append, depending upon what you want to do. So file object is ready. Now we have to say write. Okay, so to write, okay, we have to use another object. Okay, we'll call it as, okay, first let's close the file handle 2. So I'm going to say CSV object 2. Okay, why to use old object? I'm going to create a new object. So here it will be CSV dot, earlier we did reader, here we'll do writer. That's all, right? Reader is a function to read the content, writer is a function to write to a file. Okay, so we'll use writer, CSV dot writer, and then the file object. So file handle 2. Okay, and then what delimiter you want to have. Okay, you have to use pipe. What delimiter you want to have, right? If you can use pipe delimiter. Sorry guys. So delimiter equal to, or let's say semicolon. Let's try to use semicolon. Fine. Okay, so semicolon. So this CSV object is created. Now we have to write each row, right? So I'm going to say okay, CSV object 2. Okay, so it's okay, CSV object dot okay dot write row. It's not shown. Okay, but let's see. Okay, now here I'm going to put my H list. Let's run this and see. Okay, it worked well. Now let's go back and see the D drive. Did we, did we create that file or not? Okay, so I'm going to D drive. I'll share my screen. Let me go to D drive first. D drive data set. Okay, now I can show you my screen. So see here, September 9 CSV file is created. Okay, this CSV created. Again, let's open this in Excel. Okay, now I have to share my Excel. So you can see my Excel now. No, try. So now you should be able to see my Excel. So see, information is saved. Employee, comma, department, comma, email ID. Done. Now we can. Okay. So don't save. Okay, I'm going to show my program. Okay. So here we are on PyCharm. Now we wrote this H list, right? Now we will write other. So we say list 1, list 2. Okay. And when you run it, this will be stored in our file. Okay. So this is how you can read a CSV file, or you can write from a CSV file. Any questions, guys? Okay. So today we saw how to read a CSV file, write CSV file, understand what JSON is, and write and read a JSON file. Okay, very important concepts. Okay, so after class and objects, we did database, right? We know how to handle database. You can of course use that app, Story Mantra app, and you can look at the more such examples of SQL. Then now today, yesterday and today, we did how to handle and read files. Okay, so we have completed important topics, reading different file format and working with database. Okay, so okay, most of the things are done. Now next topic, okay, that is tomorrow when we meet. Tomorrow is Saturday, so we will meet tomorrow, guys. Tomorrow we'll learn what is exception or error handling. Okay, we'll learn what is error handling. Okay, we are going into last 1 week, right? I think today was 22nd. I'm not sure. Left 30 days session, and we're going to cover as much as possible. Okay, please do ask me doubt, guys. Okay, if you have doubt, please do ask. Okay, if you want me to repeat any specific topic, you want me to repeat anything, please put it in the chat. Okay, live chat, and I'm going to repeat it for you. Okay, if you don't ask me, then will take up new topics. Okay, there are a lot of topics to cover. We have exception handling, regular expressions. You know, we can talk about NumPy, pandas, drawing plots, matplotlib. Okay, so we'll do as much as possible. But you know, core data Python is done. Core means the basic minimum level till class and objects, right? So till class and objects, you have to be very comfortable. You should be able to solve any problem till class and objects. Of course, now we are learning new stuffs every day. Okay, make best use of it. Okay, even though you are not on Zoom, you are on YouTube, but you know, I can see the screen. It's open in front of me on my phone, so I can read all your messages. Okay, so if you have any questions, please do ask there, and I'll answer. Okay, any topic that we have done before, you want me to repeat, you say that I didn't understand that, I want to repeat, please do that. Okay, if you want to share your code, you can go to my website where you know all the materials getting added. So when you go there in the comment, you please put your code. Okay, so you can put your code in the comment section there, and I'll take it and I'll try to answer it. Okay, so if your code is not working, you can share it on my website. If you have to ask me doubt, you ask me in the chat. Okay, we will help you. Okay, please make best of use. You know, make best of this opportunity. Okay, so with that, we'll end it here for today. We'll see you tomorrow, guys. Okay, let's meet on Saturday. We'll see you tomorrow, and we'll come up with new topics. Take care, guys. Bye. All the best.